After being reborn, I changed my college preference. Liam often stayed on campus during weekends, so I locked myself in my room studying tirelessly. When he brought Sophia back home, I moved out. When he decided to attend University B with Sophia, I applied to University A instead. In my previous life, before the college entrance exams, Liam, knowing full well that I hadn't stolen anything, still accused me of being a thief. He did it just to ensure that he and Sophia could be together cleanly and honestly. Fine, let them be together, but clean and honest? Did they even deserve such words? Nobody knew I had been reborn. Staring at my mock exam scores, I was on the verge of breaking down. In my past life, just before the college entrance exams, I was falsely accused of stealing Sophia's watch. The accusation shattered my mental state, leading to my worst performance ever during the exams and a result far below my usual capability. The first thing I did after being reborn was change my college preference to University A. My teacher was shocked and asked, "Didn't you always say you wanted to go to the same university as Liam? Does he know about this?" Hearing Liam's name, an image of his tall and protective figure flashed through my mind. Everyone always said I was unworthy of him. His family was wealthy, he was good-looking, and he was a model student in the teacher's eyes. Meanwhile, I was just the daughter of his father's old comrade-in-arms, someone his family had supported out of loyalty. I smiled faintly and replied, "I don't think that way anymore. I feel University A suits me better now." In my previous life, my mock exam scores consistently surpassed University A's cutoff, but to follow Liam, I foolishly changed my preference to University B. My sudden decision surprised my teacher, who patted my shoulder approvingly. In that past life, Liam and Sophia orchestrated the accusation against me, claiming I had stolen Sophia's watch. Sophia had pulled me aside in front of everyone, her face streaked with tears, demanding justice. "Ava, I know my family isn't wealthy and you look down on me, but this watch was a gift from Liam. I've been so careful with it. Please, I'm begging you, just return it to me," she said, her voice trembling. Her sobbing grew louder as she collapsed into Liam's arms. Liam glared at me and said, "Ava, when you were bullying Sophia, did you ever think about your own background? Being poor isn't wrong, but letting poverty breed evil intentions is. Hand over the watch now and we'll forget this ever happened." The crowd looked at me with disdain, mocking and enjoying the drama. I smiled bitterly. The boy who had once promised to protect me for a lifetime, how had he become like this? My chest felt as if a boulder were crushing it. My heart ached deeply. I hadn't stolen the watch, so how could I return it? They had no concrete evidence against me, so they couldn't do much at that moment. However, I never expected Liam, who had always been kind to me, to lock me in a room under the pretext of teaching me a lesson while his parents were away. Sophia had complained about our public argument, saying it embarrassed her. Liam told me I had always been able to endure, so a little suffering wouldn't matter. Sophia, being delicate, couldn't handle public gossip, he said. That night, the door remained locked. My nerves finally snapped. The next day was the college entrance exam. I pounded on the door and windows, screaming for help, but the only response was my own voice echoing in the vast empty villa. In despair, I grabbed a glass from the desk and smashed it against the window without hesitation. The shards cut into my flesh and the pain overwhelmed me. By the faint light of dawn, I sat there shivering and cold. I endured the pain and somehow managed to complete the 3-day exam, but my mental state was in ruins. I performed worse than ever and ended up at a mediocre university. In the end, I died in a car accident orchestrated by Sophia. I hated those two with every fiber of my being. But now I had been given another chance. I was reborn 3 months before the college entrance exams. This time I could change everything. Back at Liam's house, I began packing my things. The villa was a wedding gift from Liam's parents to him for when he got married. Grace had always treated me well, but there was no longer any possibility for me and Liam. The warmth I felt toward Grace had to be buried deep in my heart. As I packed my belongings, I drafted a new study plan. My gaze fell on the photograph of my dream university hanging on the wall. Hope filled my heart. As long as I stayed steady and performed well on the exams, I'd soon leave this place behind for good. That evening I cooked dinner as usual. Liam came back with Sophia trailing behind him. "Ava," Sophia chirped sweetly, "Liam brought me over again for dinner. You don't mind, do you?" She made herself at home, squealing with delight at the dishes I prepared. Without hesitation, she called out for Mrs. Brown to serve the food. She got a bowl of porridge, Liam got one, Mrs. Brown got one, but none for me. When I returned from the bathroom, the three of them were already seated, chatting and laughing like a family. Sophia took one bite and immediately spit it out. "I'm allergic to peanuts," she exclaimed tearfully. I leaned against the doorframe watching Liam rush to get her soup, unaware it also had a peanut base. Sophia left crying, muttering to Liam, "Ava probably doesn't like me. I won't come back anymore." Liam returned frowning. "You did that on purpose," he said. "Sophia's family is struggling. I bring her here to have a good meal. Just like my family did for you all those years." I ignored him. A week later, Liam stayed on campus to tutor Sophia. Meanwhile, I carried practice exams to the library. In the past, Liam would study with me and I would patiently guide him. Now he focused on helping his new flame prepare for their future at University B. As I packed, I came across certificates of achievement Liam and I had earned. Would he be able to maintain his grades while using study sessions as an excuse for dates? Probably not. I packed my certificates, my accomplishments earned through my effort, not thanks to Liam or his family. I left the villa for the old apartment building where I had grown up. I cleaned my father's military plaque. "Dad," I whispered, "I promise I'll do whatever it takes to achieve my goals." With just over 2 months until the exams, I could already see freedom. After that, I would leave Liam's family behind forever. Liam came home late. The dinner I prepared sat untouched. "I ate at school," he said casually, though the scent of ginseng soup on him told me he had eaten with Sophia. I motioned for Mrs. Brown to clear the dishes and went upstairs. I packed quietly, waiting for Liam to leave on one of his dates so I could take the rest of my things. I devoted all my time to studying. While others wasted their days flirting, I poured every ounce of energy into review. One evening, Liam knocked at my door. He never entered without permission. My father had saved his father's life on the battlefield, and Liam always treated me with a level of respect. "What is it?" I asked. He hesitated. "The engagement banquet is being prepared. How about the third day after the exams?" In my previous life, it had been arranged for that same date. I glanced at my suitcase. "There's no rush. Let's talk once Grace gets back." That weekend, surprisingly, Liam didn't stay on campus. He even brought breakfast. My favorite, ate treasure porridge and fried dough sticks, something he hadn't done in ages. I sat silently, scrolling vocabulary words. "I'll study with you today," he suddenly said. I looked up in surprise but shook my head. I was about to refuse when the doorbell rang. Sophia arrived with breakfast in hand. Sophia stood at the door holding 2 breakfasts. As soon as the door opened, she tilted her head up and smiled at Liam, effectively blocking my view of him. "Why are you here?" "I told you to wait for me," Liam said as he moved slightly to shield her from my gaze. Sophia peeked out cautiously. "Sorry, Ava," she said softly. "I was worried he might skip breakfast, so I came to find him." I stared at her innocent face. In my previous life, no matter what she said, she always managed to stir Liam's protective instincts. When he heard she had been willing to go hungry just to wait for him, he naturally followed her out in a hurry, abandoning his earlier promise to stay. So much for keeping me company, he had planned to meet her all along. I scoffed to myself. At least I didn't have to waste time making excuses. I could pack my things and leave without issue. I checked my moving checklist, dragged my packed belongings outside, and called a moving service to send everything to my new apartment. Once everything arrived, I organized my things and looked around the small but cozy space. "Dad," I whispered, "your daughter can live just fine on her own without relying on anyone." I spent the entire day studying and returned to Liam's house only in the evening. The intense pace of exam preparation made the days blur together. Under the streetlights at night, it was always my own shadow bent over books, chasing knowledge. On Friday evening, Grace and Mr. Harris returned from a business trip. They sat on the sofa in silence for a long time before Grace sighed deeply. "Ava," she said earnestly, "Liam's just close with another classmate. But you and Liam have been betrothed since childhood. If he dares not marry you, I'll make sure he regrets it. Your parents trusted us to take care of you. Besides, your father saved our family." When I didn't reply, the two exchanged exasperated glances. "You're so stubborn," Grace finally said. "Fine. We'll cancel the engagement banquet." I listened quietly as she called the event company to withdraw the reservation and refund the deposit. Just like that, the engagement banquet, still in the planning stage, was gone. I let out a small sigh of relief, stood up and bowed deeply. They meant well, but they couldn't understand. They didn't know what had happened in my past life. The betrayal, the humiliation, the ruined future, the fatal accident. Grace and Mr. Harris told me I would always be their daughter even without the engagement. I didn't tell them that after the exams, I planned to leave their family entirely. For now, I stayed, determined to accompany them through the next 2 months. As the exam approached, Grace insisted on driving me to school. When I unpacked my things in the dorm, I found she had slipped a thick wad of cash into my bag. Tears streamed down my face. She must have noticed my room gradually emptying, but she never confronted me. She respected my decisions like a quiet guardian. While unpacking, I heard Liam's voice at the door. "Is Sophia still upset?" he asked. His face froze when he saw me instead. "Ava, what are you doing here?" I gestured toward the next room. "Your room is over there." At that moment, the door opened and Sophia peeked out, offering me an awkward smile before retreating again. Guilt was written all over Liam's face. "Sophia lives far from school, and with exams coming up, I thought it'd be easier for her to stay here," he explained. I hadn't expected it to reach the point of them sharing a roof. Apparently even a bed. Liam seemed to sense my silence. "Why don't you move your stuff into my room?" he suggested. "I'll take the floor." He opened the door and looked around. "By the way, what happened to all the books in your room? You used to have so many." "I finished them," I said casually. "They weren't useful anymore, so I got rid of some." Liam frowned. "Even if the exams are in 2 days, you might need those books later. Why would you sell them?" When I didn't respond, he pressed on. "What about the engagement? What did my parents say?" I answered evenly. "They said the timing isn't right. We'll talk about it later." That was the excuse we had agreed upon to delay the engagement. Satisfied, Liam nodded and stepped out, saying he'd move some things and that I didn't need to worry about it. I looked at the nearly empty bookshelves. Only a few martial arts novels we had read together remained. I considered returning them to him, but laughter outside interrupted my thoughts. Liam's deep voice, Sophia's playful one, and Mrs. Brown's cheerful tone. Sharing a room with Liam was already inappropriate. But with exams in 2 days, leaving would cause unnecessary trouble. I'd wait until bedtime and quietly set up a spot on the living room couch. After studying all day, I wanted to sleep early, but Sophia was full of energy, lounging in the living room in a camisole, pulling Liam aside to help her with questions. Liam glanced at me briefly before coaxing her upstairs. Their laughter echoed through the walls, almost intentionally loud. Feeling suffocated, I stepped outside for fresh air. "Ava, why are you out here in the middle of the night?" "The exams are soon, you'll catch a cold," the neighbor called, genuinely concerned. "The house was stifling," I replied with a small smile. She sighed. "That Liam, he seems so devoted, but look at him now, bringing another girl home right before your big exams. And you, why don't you put him in his place? If you let him get away with it now, he'll walk all over you in the future." She went on, but I only half listened. Liam had apparently told everyone that I suggested bringing Sophia home because her family was poor and the commute long. I laughed bitterly, using me as a shield again. At school the next morning, the classroom was still mostly empty. I reviewed questions until I noticed something that didn't belong to me, a shiny watch placed on my desk. Before I could react, Sophia's panicked voice rang out. "Liam, my watch is gone." She frantically searched her bag. The watch was worth nearly $10,000. I picked it up, intending to return it. The moment she saw it, her eyes flashed. She lunged and slapped my hand, sending the watch flying onto the floor. Murmurs broke out immediately. "Isn't Ava the one raised by Liam's family? How could she steal someone's things?" Even before anyone finished speaking, Sophia's soft, tearful voice chimed in. "Liam, there must be some misunderstanding. Ava must have her reasons. Innocent. Manipulative. Just like before." Liam frowned deeply. "Ava, stealing is a crime. You could go to jail." Sophia's friends jumped in, accusing me of jealousy, of trying to sabotage Sophia right before the exam. Voices echoed around me, mocking, condemning, until I picked up the shattered watch and said, "Sure. Call the police." Sophia's face turned pale instantly. Her friends protested on her behalf, calling her soft-hearted. I let out a bitter laugh and slapped Sophia across the face. Pathetic. Do you really not know what you've done? Liam rushed to shield her. Ava, have you lost your mind? He shouted. You want the truth? I said coldly. Check the security cameras. But the cameras were conveniently broken. I was called to the office. Liam barged in, insisting, Sophia won't press charges. Of course she wouldn't. Her performance relied on victimhood. She cried dramatically for an hour while Liam comforted her. Later that evening he came to my room. I'll sleep on the couch tonight, he said. When I didn't respond, he added, Sophia cried all afternoon. Couldn't you have just let her be? Do you really have to be so petty? I laughed softly, his confusion clear. My calmness unsettled him. The next day I returned to my old apartment early and took all my documents. That night while reviewing I heard a knock. Expecting my neighbor, I opened the door, only to find Liam standing there in a thin t-shirt, face pale from the cold. Come home with me, he said softly. This is my home, I replied. He reached for my hand. I stepped back. When he noticed the neatly packed books and belongings from the Harris house, his expression twisted. You're still upset, he muttered. Sophia misunderstood, but she really respects you. His voice faded when he saw the distant look in my eyes. Respect. I laughed. Respect is not sharing a bed with someone else when your engagement is coming up. His face paled. You're angry. Let's talk tomorrow, he said before stumbling away. I closed the door, smiling faintly. It was almost amusing how extreme anger could turn into laughter. How blind had I been before? Determined not to repeat the past, I focused entirely on studying. Liam did not come again. One evening I heard rustling outside my door. When I opened it slightly, I heard the metallic clink of a chain. I realized I had been locked inside by Sophia. Without hesitation I picked up my phone. The next morning our class gathered outside, preparing to enter the exam hall. Sophia was smiling brightly, her mood unusually cheerful. Don't worry, Ava won't be late, she said with smug confidence. Liam stood beside her, gently patting her head. Good luck on your exams, Sophia, he said. Looking into her doe-like eyes, his expression softened. But then, as if remembering the cold, detached look I had given him days earlier, a flicker of unease crossed his face, an emotion he couldn't quite shake. As the teacher ushered students inside, my absence became obvious. Sophia's smile widened, her heart bubbling with joy like an open can of soda. She was already imagining that I wouldn't show up. Joy practically burst from her. After the final exam, reporters caught up with Noah, the perennial runner-up in the grade rankings, for an interview. You're the first student we've interviewed, the host said. Was this exam difficult for you? Noah smiled confidently into the camera. It was manageable. Sophia, who was walking behind him, chimed in with a sweet smile. Noah, this time you'll finally be first in the grade rankings. Noah's expression instantly darkened, his usual politeness cracking. Don't set me up for failure, Sophia, he said sharply, making her flinch. Sophia scrambled to justify herself. But Ava didn't even show up for the exams. If you're not first, then who else could be? Noah didn't bother responding. From the day the exams began, I hadn't returned to the Harris home. The next time I saw Liam was just before the celebration banquet. Sophia, clinging to his arm with a radiant smile, walked in with him. The moment Liam saw me, he instinctively shook Sophia's hand off. Though something seemed off about his mood, he quickly recovered and smiled at me. Ava, it's okay if the exams didn't go well. You can always repeat the year. My cousin runs a fantastic preparatory class. Great resources. I can recommend you. With your previous performance, you'd definitely get into University B next year and even be our junior. I pressed my lips together lightly. Such a great opportunity, why not save it for yourself? I said. Sophia's friends immediately jumped in, bristling with indignation. Ava, don't be so ungrateful. Sophia is thinking about what's best for you. Plenty of people retake the year. Don't throw away your future over pride. Their fake sincerity was laughable. Noah happened to walk in at that moment and overheard. With a disdainful glance, he said, Sophia, you and your pack of dogs are barking nonsense again. On exam day you were cursing someone to fail, and now you're shamelessly telling a top student to retake the year? Want me to give you an award for that? Sophia's face turned pale. She looked at Liam, clearly begging for support. Liam frowned at Noah's tone and stepped closer to me. "Even if you didn't take the exam, just come home," Liam said. "Even if you don't go to college, my family can take care of you." And that's when I understood. No matter how outrageous Sophia was, Liam would always justify her actions. To him, her behavior was excused by her difficult background, and everyone else was expected to accommodate her. Something inside me snapped. Without warning, I slapped Liam across the face. The sharp sound silenced the room. Sophia froze, tears vanishing in shock as she stepped protectively in front of Liam. "Why did you hit him? Are you crazy?" she screamed, raising her hand to slap me back. But before she could touch me, Noah grabbed her wrist and shoved her hard, sending her stumbling into Liam's arms. "I've seen enough. A little discipline won't hurt," Noah said coldly, his smile more like a sneer. Liam's expression darkened. He walked toward me, grabbed my wrist tightly and said, "You're coming with me. We need to settle this." Pain shot through my arm as I stumbled forward. I instinctively prepared to kick him, but Noah was quicker. His fist connected with Liam's jaw, sending him stumbling backward. Noah stepped in front of me, shielding me. "Are you blind? She doesn't want to go with you. Back off. Go to the hospital and get your eyes checked," he said, calm but threatening. Liam clutched his jaw, anger and frustration swirling in his eyes. His glare bored into me. Sophia tugged desperately at his arm, trying to diffuse the tension. A few classmates, having arrived early, began watching the scene. Liam's expression shifted repeatedly, his chest rising and falling with restrained emotion. Finally, he said in a low, deliberate voice, "Ava, I'm so disappointed in you." After the crowd dispersed, I stood still, calming myself. Noah looked concerned. I shook my head. "It's just that I didn't get to kick him earlier," I said. "You beat me to it." "Shame." Noah blinked, then burst into hearty laughter. "I didn't expect that. I didn't attend the celebration banquet." Instead, Noah suggested we go to the riverside to watch the fireworks. Parents celebrating the end of the exams had bought them, and we watched the sky explode in color for hours. When the fireworks ended and the night quieted, Noah turned to me, his profile sharp under the dim light. Leaning down, he whispered in my ear, "Why not consider someone else for a change?" I stayed silent, pretending not to hear. My future plans didn't include love. My heart was void of men. I believed I needed solitude to grow stronger. The day results were released. Gossip spread like wildfire. Sophia had been taken away by the police right after checking her scores. Pictures of her being escorted into a police car flooded every chat group. At the same time, news of me ranking first in the grades spread just as quickly. Students from my exam hall spoke up. "I told you I saw someone sitting in Ava's seat," one said. "Yeah, she took the test," another added. "She even got into University A." The tide shifted. Videos resurfaced of Sophia boasting about Noah becoming the top-ranked student, and people now mocked her. The backlash was swift. After being bailed out by Liam's family, Sophia saw screenshots of my top scores and fainted, needing hospitalization. It turned out that the night before the exam, Sophia had locked me in my old apartment to sabotage my performance. She had manipulated Liam into giving her my address. But I hadn't made a scene. Instead, I quietly filmed her from the window, keeping the proof for this exact moment, when she'd soar to imagined heights only to fall. In this second life, I couldn't let her go unpunished. Once in college, I juggled part-time work with my studies, consistently ranking at the top of my class. Occasionally, I heard rumors about Sophia and Liam breaking up. Apparently, during a conversation with her friends, Sophia had accidentally revealed details about the watch incident and locking me in the room. Liam had overheard everything. He was shocked, his perception of Sophia completely shattered. He confronted her, demanding to know why she had pretended to be innocent all these years while blaming everything on me. For years he had believed I was petty and mean-spirited, a bully. The stark contrast between what he had thought and the actual truth made him question every bit of his judgment. By the time Liam realized he had been wrong about everything, winter had arrived. Sophia cried and begged him desperately for 2 months, but all she got in return was a breakup settlement and a curt, "Don't let me see you again." That was Liam for you, self-centered, placing himself above everyone else. Meanwhile, Noah, who had also gotten into University A, continued subtly making his presence known. He would sit beside me in class, join me for meals, or wait for me after exams. One day he told me there would be fireworks near the river 5 kilometers from campus. He invited me and I agreed. It was time to address the dynamic between us and give our relationship some clarity. As the year came to an end, I wore my winter coat and wrapped my face in a thick beige scarf. At the campus gate I unexpectedly saw Liam. His face was pale from the cold and he looked haggard, as if he had been waiting for a long time. The moment he recognized me, he rushed forward and pulled me into a tight embrace. I struggled, pounding on his chest, but he didn't let go. Holding the back of my head, he said urgently, "Ava, I know you're angry at me." His voice was heavy with regret. "But I'm actually glad, because it means you still care." I didn't answer. Instead, I lifted my knee sharply into his stomach. He released me with a grunt as I pushed him away. "Go home, Liam. Stop acting crazy." Just as I said this, Noah arrived and immediately picked up on the situation. Without hesitation, he shoved Liam aside and stepped in front of me protectively. "Haven't you had enough of haunting her like a ghost?" Noah snapped. Liam's expression darkened with anger. Seeing Noah brought back memories of the confrontation before the celebration banquet, and his anger only grew. "Noah," Liam growled, "are you coveting what's mine?" He raised his fist as if ready to strike. I stepped forward quickly, cutting him off before he could do anything. "Liam, we have nothing to do with each other anymore." Hearing me call his name, his aggressive posture faltered. "Ava," he murmured, his voice breaking. "I was wrong. If I had known you were going to call off the engagement, I never would have let you leave. I would have stayed by your side. I misunderstood you. I realize that now. Let's start over. Please." I let out a cold laugh. "No, Liam." Turning toward Noah, I said softly, "Let's go." Noah immediately reached for my hand and I took his without hesitation. Liam stood frozen as we walked past him, his figure shrinking behind us. He stood alone in the biting wind, watching, disbelief filling his eyes. By the bridge, the cold wind swirled around us, carrying the vibrant colors of fireworks that burst in the sky. The lights danced across Noah's sharp profile. After a long silence, he finally spoke. "Ava, does this mean what I think it means?" His voice held both hope and hesitation. I couldn't help but laugh softly. I had been waiting for him to ask. As I opened my mouth to respond, Noah gently placed his warm hand over my lips. "Let me speak first," he said. His voice was low and tender, his star-like eyes locked onto mine. "Ava," he began, "for 3 years you've always been ahead of me, in rankings, in the dining hall, even in my thoughts. I've watched you eat, study, tackle exams with that serious focus of yours. At first I thought it was admiration. But then I realized," his voice softened, "I'm a hopeless romantic, and I'm hopelessly in love with you." He looked up at the sky, his nose slightly red from the cold. "I used to stand back and watch you cry, smile, and hurt, all because of Liam. It made me feel like a terrible person lurking on the sidelines hoping for a chance that seemed impossible. Then Sophia showed up and, for the first time, I felt like I could breathe again." He smiled dryly. "I could tell you this story 100 times if you'd let me. I know you're scared of love," he continued. "Scared that it'll distract you from your goals. You always say your heart has no place for men because you need your strength to wield your sword." Noah took a deep breath, his hand clenched at his side. "Well, how about this?" he said, voice steady. "I'll wield the sword for you. Will you let me?" I stared at him, caught off guard. Could it really be this simple? Slowly I took off my gloves and placed my hand in his. "Then the job is yours," I said with a smile. "Boyfriend." His usually calm expression erupted with vivid emotion. "Ava, Ava, Ava," he repeated, each time filled with joy. "My girlfriend. Think. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment and don't forget to subscribe."